NIMC that the bank correction won't reflect on their records. How is this fair? And how many Nigerians will be able to afford 15,000 naira? That was from Tunji. Yinka also said, Kayode, it cost me 16,000 naira to get my NIN in one day just because I have a 7 a.m. flight to Abuja to go correct my date of birth on my passport.
Look at that.
It's people are very upset. Thanks to Prince. Thanks to I think who else said Ade and Bolu, who of course corrected the number of votes that came in for the Big Brother thing. So it was 240 million total votes, of which we don't know how many were SMS. So that calculation I gave was incorrect. So thank you everybody for that. Shout out to JLo, who sent a message about the number of stock exchanges in the US. So it's actually
it turns out that there's one.
No, there's two. And even I think it was Masro, somebody that was saying no, there's only one. It's actually two. So there's the New York Stock Exchange and the Nasdaq. I don't know why it skipped my mind, but JLo, thank you for that message. So the Nasdaq is also another stock exchange that deals with tech stocks, technology stocks, because this was of course coming off of a question from someone who was asking about FMDQ and the Nigerian Stock Exchange. And I did my quick research. India has the BSC, which is the Bombay Stock Exchange, which was opened like in 1845 or something, back in the 19th century. Then years later, about 1994, they had the NSC, which sounds like our own. Theirs is the National Stock Exchange. We are the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Okay. And then Kenya has an NSC as well, which is the Nairobi Stock Exchange.
I was just going to say, how does
I know, how do we correct all these things? Let's see now. Then also, remember Seni sent in that message that I wasn't able to answer. Seni was like, hey, Rotus, can you guys talk about the issue between the Nigerian Ports Authority and BOA Group as regards the Port Harcourt port? So I finally got it, Seni. What happened was they decommissioned the ports in Port Harcourt, and the Nigerian Ports Authority said that because of safety reasons, they were going to decommission the ports belonging to BOA Group. BOA Group came back and said, no, you can't do that. We told you there was a problem with this port. We told you we were going to be fixing it. Apparently, vandals. Why do people keep vandalizing property in this country?
It's ignorance.
Look, if I don't understand why they do it. You see a structure there. Somebody was telling a story. I was at a forum. I don't know, a month ago. They were talking about power, right? And solar panels. They had put up solar panels in this village. Okay, that one was theft. It wasn't vandalism. No, that one they stole the solar. They stole the solar panels so they could sell. Sorry, I was trying to mix. I mixed up my story. I thought they vandalized it. But anyway, BOA Group said that some folks vandalized the items at their port, causing it to be disrupted, and they told the Nigerian Ports Authority. Nigerian Ports Authority is supposed to assist in fixing all these things, but they didn't, and then they decommissioned it. So that's the issue. They're going back and forth about that. BOA Group was saying you shouldn't have decommissioned it. We should have allowed us to fix it. We also had messages on people saying, okay, so Sika said nobody's going to do a business Big Brother. They said nobody will watch.
Yeah.
Steve said the same thing. I think I did. Who else said the same thing? So that my idea. Daniel too said the same thing, that nobody. Nkem as well said the same thing, that nobody's going to watch my idea of having a business Big Brother where they can get together and solve problems. Chukwuemeka sent a message on Twitter, and he was asking me about the debits, the 499 billion naira debits that the CBN had taken from a number of banks for not meeting their loan deposit ratios. Citibank 100 billion, First Bank 74 billion, FCMB 14 billion, GTB 25 billion, Jais Bank 7. I mean, it's a lot. Now, I read somewhere, and I don't know why I can't find this. I read a quote from the central bank governor where he said that the money is actually refundable. I can't find this thing, but I know I saw it. My eyes are not deceiving me.
So if it's refundable, then
why'd you find them in the first place,
exactly.
Right? Let me get Lagos. This is what some people suspect. People suspect that the central bank is doing a backdoor liquidity management scheme, right? Where they are trying to manage the amount of liquidity that's out there so that folks don't go speculating with Forex, so they can keep the foreign exchange in place. So how it works is if there's too much money in circulation, if there's too much liquidity out there, you and I are going to take it and go buy go buy foreign exchange. Yeah, and so if the liquidity goes up and demand for foreign exchange goes up, then the cost of forex, dollars go up, and that puts more pressure on reserves. So that's what some people are suspecting, because I mean, who are they lending to, right? But by the way, I put in a screenshot, right? I just posted a screenshot. Maybe from the colors of the bank, you'll see it. But I just got approved for a loan. I'm serious. You guys use this opportunity.
Wait, did you get approved for a loan from a loan app or a bank itself?
Okay, so I went on my bank app. I can't mention the bank, but I went to go and buy. I ran out of data like last night or this morning, so I went there to go top up my data plan, and I log into my app, and boom, it says you've been pre-qualified for X amount.
Oh, I see all
Yeah.
that.
So look, this is
Payday
part.
loans.
Yeah, those loans, right? This is part of what the banks are scrambling to do in order not to be debited again by the central bank. So the central bank is saying that your loan deposit ratio is supposed to go up to 60%. We want you lending more to the real sector. If you don't lend to the real sector, this is what's going to happen. And they debited those billions from there. The central bank just takes the money. They don't even. There's no notification. Just boom! Imagine just waking up one morning and like 500K is missing.
Yeah, the banks do it to us all the time now. We just wake up one morning.
You've never liked the banks. But,
so it's okay.
But anyway, so the thing is, ladies and gentlemen, if you are, duly employed, this is a chance for you to build your credit, because the amount that I was qualified for prior to this was smaller, and the interest rates are not bad, although this is monthly. It's like 1.75%. So the key is to pay it off as quickly as possible. You don't want to stretch it out to 12 months or to 8 months. You want to so take advantage of this. What's happening is some of these banks, for people who qualify, people who are employed through apps and so on, they're pre-qualifying them for loans in order to try and meet this threshold that the central bank has put out there for them. So take advantage of it and try and see if you can, you can qualify for a loan. What else was I asked on Twitter? Adeinka Fakumoji, his Twitter handle is Faywing. So sorry, Chukwemeka, I hope I answered your question. As far as the implication on he was asking about the implication on the bank. So yes. Now, if the central bank does not refund this money, then of course it's going to impact profitability. It's going to impact the dividends they can pay out. It's going to impact them quite a bit. So the banks will be severely impacted as far as what's been debited. So we'll see if the central bank is just. Well, I don't think they'll refund it. I mean, that doesn't even make any sense. It's a fine.
Maybe they might. Yeah.
No, it doesn't make any sense.
It won't come out as a bailout or whatever.
Nah, it's not like bailouts. It's them. It's the suspicion is that it is liquidity management. That's what they're doing. But anyway, look, again, they've now increased it. It's now gone to 65%. The new threshold now, loan deposit ratio, is now 65%. They need to do this by December. If not, there'll be another big debit coming out of their cash reserve ratio, which is a CRR. Okay. So this is from, who's this saying this? Hi, Rotus. The money debited is not a fine, but mandatory deposit CRR was increased at no interest. That's from Joel. Thank you for that, Joel. Okay, yes. Well, so Joel is correct. So that's what I just mentioned. The cash reserve ratio, which is the amount of money that you're meant to keep with the central bank. Still, it's money that the bank should be using for other productive things. This is from, who is this guy?
Aldo says people watch The Apprentice. For this. They'll watch your show.
Okay. Thank you. That's the first positive response.
There will always be one person.
There's got to be one person that will be positive. Okay, this is from Frank. I don't think it's liquidity management strategy by the CBN. Government wants to drive growth or doesn't want to lower the MPR to avoid capital flight. Once the banks meet the lending threshold, CBN releases the amount. Okay, so thank you, Frank. So that's the angle to giving them the money. But Frank, do you know anyone that has received any of these loans outside of these little tiny payday loans that they're giving? I'm talking about loans, Kayode, for businesses that need to do things.
The blue banks, the one with the animal that did like this.
Yeah.
Gives loans to startups and everyone.
Sizable amounts.
But the thing is, you have to have. I don't even know. But I think you have to move your salary account to that bank as opposed to, the regular bank that you use. So some of these banks do.
Okay. All right. Bjorn also here. Actually, Rotus is not a fine right. There's an increase in the cash reserve ratio by the CBN to prevent the banks making short-term investments instead of lending. The monies will be given to the banks once they meet the other. Okay, fantastic. So we've cleared that up. Thank you. You see, this are our listeners, are our analysts. So indeed, the funds are coming back. So that's what he meant by the refund. But what happens if they don't meet it between now and, because they're only giving them 3 months? It's just not enough time. They're only giving them when they announced
an extension.
Yeah, when they announced the 60% threshold in July, they gave them till September. Now they've debited them. Then now they've raised it to 65%, and they're giving them till December. I don't know. I don't know if it's enough time. Yes, this is from Papi K. Yes, it's refundable. Frozen at 0% with CBN, meaning you can't touch that money. CRR 2.0. Banks will grant. I see. Yeah, this is the fear. Banks will grant bad loans because of this, and surely NPL will rise again, which is non-performing loans. So that is the risk, which is why, I think they're only targeting salaried people as far as these little loans I'm seeing that I've approved on phones and so on. What else do we have? Got so many messages. Good morning. CBN debited DMB's deposit monitoring banks as a result of a default of their LDR. The penalty is a debt for their accounts to increase their CRR, cash reserve ratio. This is from Ola from Lekki. The idea behind it is to ease SS liquidity. Yes, to mention that in the market and to sterilize the money as ideal funds if DMBs refuse to loan it to the real sector. Does anyone really think that money is going to sit there at 0%? You think the CBN, that's 500 billion naira. It's just going to sit there at 0%.
Can they just take it and put it in another business?
Ola and Papi K, guys, do you think that money is just going to sit there and they won't use it? Will you put 500 billion naira at 0%? Come on, man. At 0%. Godfrey, I think Nigerian youths have misplaced priorities. I remember the intern show organized by the then PHB was more of a business BBN. Oh yeah,
which was a good show.
Yeah, we've got a number of those shows. Okay, real quick. Hello, Rotus. Quote: the bank started the quick credit loan before the LDR issue was introduced by CBN Juma. Okay, yeah, okay, that's a good point. They did start that, but I'm thinking, will they ramp it up because of what's going on? We didn't even get a chance to talk about Ben Murray Bruce's. Did I mention it yesterday?
You did.
I did. Okay, but guys, do we think this is the key thing here? What Ben Murray Bruce is trying to do is saying that the government is supposed to subsidize transportation costs, and his estimate is that it's 100 billion naira. So again, he released a video, said that we should deregulate PMS. And if fuel prices go up, fuel prices are about 145 right now. I'm sure they would probably double to 300 or something.
Are we ready for that?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Transport is where you will see the fallout and you'll see the impact, right? So transportation costs, it's a market thing. If you and I own taxis or taxi business and our fuel jumps by ×2, are we going to eat the cost? You pass the cost on to the people who are catching the taxis now. So he's saying that the government should subsidize that amount. So keep transportation costs where they are. So
across
the government
the 36 states.
That is the thing.
I like that. But you see, the challenge is I don't see it working.
Because how you implement it? How? Like
in Lagos alone, we're still struggling with trying to get BRT buses for people.
So thank you for that. Will you put officers and maybe LASMA at BRT bus stations, or will you put a LASMA person on each bus? And this is BRT, Danfo, Okadas, taxis. How will you do it? Just Lagos alone, my head wants to explode. How will you do that across the entire nation
to keep it? Project.
And by the way, here's another thing. Please, I beg, check with Yinkos. Yinkos always shouts at me when I don't read his messages. But another thing is this. The as far as transportation, do we really have a public transportation system? Do we really have the one?
We do.
Here's the thing, Kayode. Most of those Danfo buses are owned by private people.
Yes.
The kekes are owned by private people. So I mean, like, the states regulate them, but it's more of a private
business,
public thing. All right, Yinkos, good morning, guys. The banks are not fine. They only increase the CRR ratio with the CBN. The money still belongs to the commercial banks, just not be available for running their business. It will affect their results at the end of financial year. Return on assets. That's from Yinkos. Really quick, let's read that one. Benjamin, yeah. And Benjamin Rotus at the rates. No, go back to Benjamin's one. Yeah, that one. At the rate at which you've always advised persons to buy dollars, shouldn't the CBN adopt some measure to curtail it? Ben, if you curtail it and devaluation happens, how do you protect yourself? How do you? Of course, they shouldn't curtail it. Let's just monitor it.
We are out of time.
Are we out of time already? Okay, real quick. I got. Oh, so this is from Tolu. She says she's got a 300,000 naira loan via, we can't mention the bank, but see, so it's happening. She's a witness.
Okay.
So many more messages, guys. I will continue.
300,000. That's not bad. That's not bad.
But Tolu, you want to pay that thing off? If they say, this is what I'm saying. Your 300k loan, I'm sure it's 1.75% per month. They will give you the option of paying it off over a year. In fact, they'll give you 3 months, 6 months. Pay it off as quickly as possible,
because then you get bigger credits, and then of course.
Yeah. So well, I'm saying the cost. So you want to make sure you pay it off in like 3 months or 6 months, because if you extend it to a year, then you're paying more back to the bank. But if you pay this off now, what will happen to Tolu is that the next time they approve her for a loan, it could be 450 or 500, and you pay the 500 back. It could be $1 million. You pay the $1 million back, and it could be 1.5, and you just keep going, and then maybe one day, Utopia, Nigeria will have a lovely credit system where we'll see.
Buy a car.
You buy a car, or at least a house. Yes,
Without,
In fact, speaking of a house, the Nigerian mortgage and NRMC signed a deal with Kaduna. We'll get into that tomorrow. A 3 billion naira mortgage scheme. We'll get into that, because I love talking about mortgages. I love how I've extra stretched the extra time today. Lagos, thank you all for your messages. If you haven't read them, we'll continue tomorrow. We'll continue the conversation. Thank you so much, everybody. Really appreciate it. And Business Express joins you again tomorrow, same time, 6:45. There's no what's that thing?
There's no travel wings.
Ah, okay.